So last week we tapped into a weekly order block right there, and then this week we tapped into this weekly order block, and then the daily time frame. So what it looks like, price took out the sell-side liquidity, tapping into last week's order block, expanding higher, creating an order block right there. That's being respected by the daily SIBI inversion fair value gap right there, expanded higher. 50% of the order block gets tapped right there. There's also a daily volume balance as well. And then yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, so right after the banks opened, they came down, tapped into this daily order block, shot right up. And then on the 1 hour time frame, this is the opening range gap chart, or sorry, this is the regular trading hours chart. And I think this is going to be the drawn liquidity going into last week's high because of the fact that, again, it's last week's high, low resistance liquidity run signatures, and then we have ourselves an opening range gap right here. Anything above the white line is the unfilled part of the opening range gap. So to me, that lends well for a drawn liquidity. 5 minute time frame, regular trading hours chart. We had this opening range gap that was 130 pips, I believe, and then closed the gap right away. And this is what it looks like on the 5 minute time frame. And also as well, the orange lines are my, today's opening range gap levels high, upper quadrant, middle, lower quadrant, low. And then 5 minute time frame, price took out essentially prior to 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, kill zone, price took out the buy side liquidity right there, and then collapsed to take out sell side liquidity, and then take out these lows below London, and then tap into the weekly order block from last week. And then the blue shaded box is the Friday's first presented fair value gap as well. So Nasdaq made the low of the day at Friday's first presented fair value gap, and then also the weekly order block level. And this is what it looks like, taking out all the sell side liquidity, and then right after taking the buy side, dropped, came up, and then, so this is a market maker sell model, and then we completed the market maker buy model, and then jumping into actually before I get to the lower time frame, I'm at the 3 minute, so 5 minute time frame, 5 minute SIBI, 50% of it, don't have it marked up, but it's there, displacement. Also a 5 minute breaker, high, low, higher, high, or you could be high, low, higher, high. In line with the 5 minute SIBI displacing, taking out sell side, and then essentially kind of range bounding for a little bit, breaking above market structure. 5 minute BISI, institutional order flow and expansion, taking out buy side. And then this is what it looks like on the 3 minute time frame. 3 minute fair value gap right there. It went into it, dropped into the low of the opening range gap, came up, reaccumulated at the 3 minute SIBI, displacing lower. After finally tapping into the 3 minute SIBI and using it as a resistance to displace lower, come back up, and then we kind of, like I said, went range bound and then cleared out the buy side. And then on the 2 minute time frame, is what it looks like. I do want to point out that prior to 9:30 a.m. open New York Hill Zone, we had ourselves again taking out buy side, and then 2 minute fair value gap could have been a seller in there displacing, and then we had pretty much all of that I was discussing. And then 1 minute time frame, first presented fair value gap right there. Price came down, teased the low of the opening range gap, came up, first presented fair value gap, displacement. Okay. And then we had the displacement taking out sell side liquidity right there. And then this is, of course, a 3 minute fair value gap level I was talking about. And then we displaced lower, range bound, and then kind of went higher, did our thing. So with that being said, I just want to come back into the 1 minute time frame and kind of show you guys. I'm gonna actually remove everything and just kind of show you guys something pretty interesting. In line with all of the 1 minute's price action here, this whole range bound can be it's aided to be able to see it pretty much right there. That is your inversion fair value gap that you can have marked up to kind of just be like a GPS. And then so okay, so we're inside of this is the first presented fair value gap for the day, displacement. And then we're inside of this 1 minute inversion fair value gap. Look at how price was kind of dancing, created this 1 minute SIBI. So it was between this inversion fair value gap and this 1 minute SIBI that price was kind of dancing around, and then essentially blasted off higher. So that's kind of how you're able to navigate this price action because of this 1 minute BISI and this 1 minute SIBI kind of being used as resistance and support. And then once we broke above the 1 minute BISI right there with the 5 minute fair value gap right here, came back into it, that can be how you can read price action in the moment. And then we had all that. So yeah. Cheers.